Know who is the batch rep, please? Who is the representative? Is the batch representative here in the meeting? Okay, so if batch rep is not here, so what I would do is, all right. So I'll make you co-host in case that because there are very, very unstable situation and there are some interruptions. So I'll make you co-host in that case. Yeah, I'll make you co-host. Oh. From university account, sometimes because of high volume of the students, so there might be some issues. So I have made two of you co-hosts in case that I will be out of the meeting, so you will be become host so that we can transfer the hostships back to me in case that connection drops. Right, so we will start. Sorry for the delay and the interruption happened this morning. So that was common for all other meetings as well, which means it is a issue with the system. Okay, today we are going to talk about, I think you all have now pretty familiar with the system, and you can follow material in learning management system. I think you will be informed. So we have a practical session on campus. There was a message on chat. Yes, it was a direct message. The practical session will be on campus for all the courses that you have done so far. We have a practical session in the university. For our one, we have a lab session, and also for other courses, there are some field sessions. The first day will be, I think it is 20th of, just let me check, according to the schedule. So officially you will be informed on the date and the time. You have to come to the campus and follow the practical course. Just let me check what was the date. You'll be officially informed about the date and the time. Or the practical will be on 20th May, Saturday. And I think there will be a field visit following day. So course coordinator, the academic coordinator will inform you about that. For the practicals, you have to come to the campus, and we have laboratory sessions and field practicals. Okay, just let me share my screen to start the session. So last week we discussed about land management aspect. Today we will be talking about the soil management part of this course, right? So I think you all can see my screen now. In case there is a connection issue, I will record the session.
Recording in progress.
Yes, very good morning to all of you. And today is the second day of this section of the course, Land and Soil Management. First day we talked about the land management aspects, land characteristics, and those importance of agriculture. And then today we are going to talk about soil aspects of land and soil management section, right? So this is about the lecturer. We have discussed that, and also intended learning outcome. We have discussed what are the intended learning outcomes of this course. So in this one, this part of the course, we are going to talk about role of soil resource and its characteristic in crop production, right? So what is soil? I think you all have seen what is soil, even though you might have not think about it, what it does and how it supports us. Still, you all have seen, feel and touch soil. So it is the surface layer on the earth, and so we consider it as a pedosphere because it consists of various materials. We are going to discuss what those materials are and their roles, and generally we identify it as the surface layer of the earth, right? So you can see that depending on the location, so we have different characteristics in soil. And so this image show you what is inside of soil. What we see in the surface is not what we see inside if you carefully look at it. So it's a bunch of roots and together with some soil particles, and there are some rock material, so various things, and also there are some organisms. If you carefully look at that, there are some living organisms in that. Those organisms might be able to see from our naked eye, and some we will not be able to see from our eyes. Then we have to use a microscope or other magnifying equipment to see them, because they are very small, very tiny. So therefore we call them microorganisms, right? The ones that we can see from our eyes, we call macroorganisms. So there are macro and microorganisms. In between those is mesoorganisms. So at this stage, we are not worrying about those categories. But what we need to understand is soil is not just a particle of these solid materials, but there are some organisms, air, water, roots, organic matter, various things in soil, right? Each part of each component of the soil has a very unique role to play, right? We're going to discuss it later, right? In short, it is a mixture of minerals. Minerals are coming from these solid particle of soil, dead and living organisms, we call it organic materials, air and water, right? So these four ingredients react with one another in amazing ways, making soil one of our planet's most dynamic and important natural resources. Why I call that is the most dynamic and important natural resource? Because it is changing, dynamic. The word dynamic means it is changing over time, right? So it's if you look at it today, so it will not be the same as yesterday or tomorrow. So that means it is changing. So it is dynamic. And why it is important? So any crop that we have discussed in the previous day, anything that we produce need to have grown on soil, right? Sometimes we use soilless medium, but think about most of our staple food, so that are all grown on the ground with soil, right? Wheat and rice right? Wheat, rice. In African countries, they use manioc. So that is also a staple food in some part of the world. So all these things are grown on soil. We may 1 or 2 plants or a small amount of land, small amount of plants, or a small piece of space that we can use using soil as medium. But when it comes to scale cultivation, we cannot think of growing without soil, right? So the soil is the most important natural resource that we all relying on. So why we rely on that? Because we need food. Food is produced on plants. Those plants are growing on soil. We know that link. We talked about it last week as well, right? So what is soil? It provides, why the soil is important? Because it provides air, water, and nutrients to the plants. I don't have to repeat why plants are important to our lives. So it is already known to you, and you all have heard of it. And we discussed this in detail in the previous lecture. So there is no doubt we need plants. So if plants are needed for our lives, so we need to know what are the things that are needed for these plants to grow, right? Soil provides some mechanical support for the plant in addition to these things that are provided. So it also gives a support for mechanical aspects, right? And also it consists of weathered materials. What these weathered materials? So these are decaying organic matter. So therefore, these will provide space for air and water, right? So these things are really important for plants to grow, right? Soil and life, all life is depending on soil for sustenance, as we have discussed. Plant acquire their minerals or nutrients and water from the soil, right? So these things are taken up from the soil by plants. Not only plants, but also animals, they acquire their nutrients from plants. So then not only human beings, but animals also relying on plants. Therefore, all these 2 types of organisms, animals and plants, are relying on, animals and humans are relying on plants. Soil provides humans with minerals, vitamins, and proteins because the origin of them is plants. So soil is a reserve of nutrients, and it's complicated, right? And also it's a living material, as I mentioned earlier. So it's a living material because there are organisms living in it. Why we say it is complicated? Because we can't simply say that it is these are the chemical reactions, transformations happening in the soil, because they are interconnected. Right? They are interconnected. So we can't simply say that these materials are transforming into this, because they are changing over a period of time, right? How soils are formed? Actually, any one of you know how soils are formed? මොනවගේද soil හැදෙන්නේ? So any one of you know that how soil is formed? What is the origin? Anyone's meeting? You can also use chat option to answer if you're not happy to unmute your mic and speak. If you can, that's great. Lightning. All right. Yeah, some activities. Okay, I have got some answers. Among them, the right answer also there. Yes. Okay. Yes. Say it again, please. So I couldn't hear you, buddy. Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah. Yes, please.
Madam.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So that is also right. And yeah, many of you have written certain answers. And I see that there are, there are right answers as well as, you know, soils are formed from, organic matter. So there are some other organic matter, rock digestion, and human activities. There is a direct answer, Pashana Jirna Women. Yeah, so, and also lightning can't hear. So there's another message saying that can't hear. So are you all knowing? I hope you all can hear me, because I got answers for the question. Right. The question was how soil is formed. Yeah, we have got right answers in the chat. Yes, it is from. Sorry.
Soil genesis.
Soil genesis. So, okay. So we have got a number of right answers. That is mainly the soil is formed. Soils are formed from rocks. Decomposition of rocks gives soil, right? So there are some additions on the way during the process. As some of you have mentioned, there are some addition of organic matter, and some of you have mentioned lightning. Lightning will help to formation of soils in some ways, but the origin is from rocks, right? So if someone asks how rocks are formed, so that's really good question. So the origin of rocks, there is in the middle of the earth, there is a very hot metallic liquid. We call it lava. Sorry, we call it magma, right? So when it comes to the surface of the earth, so it is getting defined, and later on, once it is decomposed, so we get disintegration of these rocks will provide us soil. So it takes very long time to form soil from rocks. So how long it will take, if we think about in general terms, it will take about 300 years for forming of soil, about 2.5 centimeter, maybe an inch soil to be formed. It will take about 300 years. So that is rough estimation. So how long it will take? So that means from our lifespan, So we will not be generating soils even about 1 centimeter, because it takes that long time. So therefore, the soil resource is considered to be non-renewable, considering our lifespan, right? So it actually provides, as we mentioned, various materials, minerals, and nutrients and those things for plants, right? So it's all things are originated from rocks, because that is the material that it originates. Decomposition of animals and plant materials are also added to the soil, but generally rocks and minerals breaking down through weathering, and also there are some mechanical forces to create soil particles, right? Soil, we call it soil texture. Later on, I will tell you what the soil texture actually means. The soil is by decomposition of these plant and animal matter as well as rocks, right? It is the solid material generally mostly coming from these two, right? So we call it, the soil is called a gift from nature, because we can't do anything without soil. So think about a situation where we have plants, not only plants, but also there are a number of other things that we do, like, various industries related to earth material, bricks, tiles, and those things. So recreational things. And we also need to remember there are various other services from soil, right? So provisioning services. What are the provisioning things it provide? Okay, so let me connect to my writing pad so that I can write certain things on the screen. Easier for all to understand. In the meantime, if you all have questions, so I'm happy to answer them, either coming through chat, or otherwise you can unmute your microphone and ask. Yes, okay. Up here, there is the provisioning services, category of provisioning services. Just finding the colors. Okay, the provisioning services. Provisioning means it provides something, right? So we see what the nutrients are. Nutrients are provided. What else soil provide us? Air, right? Air for roots, right? Plant roots. Do you know what are the roots? I think you all have learned science for your O levels and A levels. So if you have a plant like this, right? So you have branches, leaves, and all those things, right? And then what are going inside of the soil is called roots, right? These roots take up nutrients and water from soil, right? So therefore, providing those things are by soil. So we call provisioning service, right? These are different categories of service by soil. Provisioning, supporting, cultural, and regulating, right? So there are supply of nutrients, air, supply of minerals. Not only that, but also it provides food for microorganisms, right? Because the organic matter present in the soil is the food for microorganisms, right? And supporting services. There are various supporting services to think of, we can hold, this soil can hold water. Think about a situation where when it heavily raining, if the soil does not absorb any water, everything will go into water bodies, right? So then there will be flooding issues. Hold water, right? And it will provide, it will decompose waste material, decomposed waste material. Think about where we have lot of unwanted waste material from our house to other industries. So we dump all these onto the soil, right? So once it is dumped into soil, so there will be a high, rapid rate of microbial actions happening, and those microbial will decompose these organic waste material. So in few months' time, you will see all these organic waste has been decomposed. This is done by microorganisms in soil. It's a great support for us, right? Regulating service, right? Regulating. So think about a situation where we have water moving through the soil. So it will carry certain waste material, right? Okay, can you change writing color? Okay. So can do. Want to blue. Okay. Yes. So there are regulating services. What it is regulating in terms of water. So once water is water, especially think about wastewater. So we have wastewater. These wastewater will go to the soil, right? Soil, and then it will be, what happened? It will be filtered. So it will be filtered. That filtration is done by this regulating service. We consider it as a regulating service because it regulates and also regulates supply of nutrients, right? Supply of nutrients. Because this is not all the nutrients that are added to the soil is going to be available for plants, because there is a regulating mechanism in soil. So soil organisms will convert certain nutrients into another form. So therefore, this regulation going to decide by soil whether it is going to be given to the plant or not. So therefore, regulating service is there. And there is a cultural service, right? So you can think of like having swimming pool, and there are various soils, water bodies, waterfalls, and also we have parks, various recreational things. Those are coming under cultural service. Not only that, once somebody died, so we have we buried the body in soil, so that is gradually then decomposed and after a long period of time, it will disappear. So that is because of the organisms living in soil will decompose those material. So therefore, there are some number of cultural services that I cannot even think of listing all of them here, right? So cultural service, supporting service, right? And provisioning service. Now you know what are the services provided by soil. Therefore, yes.
Soil profile.
What is it? Soil profile. Yes. Yes, soil profile is something I will later on. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can, yeah, so it wasn't very clear what you said, but you can write it down on the chat so that I can pick it up and comment on it. Yes, we talk about soil profile separately. Don't worry too much here because we have a separate section. So these are the services provided by soil. Therefore, since we are getting this for free, so we call it gift from nature, because all these services are really important for our lives, right? Okay. So these are some of these services done by soil. How land use natural, so we can have environmental, urban, agricultural, regional, and other things. All these things are soil. So urban landscape is entirely built up soils. Agriculture, as we discussed before, crop cultivation is sometimes we have recreational activities. This is the major part. So, and also there are various water bodies and forests, gardens, and there are other things like water resources and those things, right? So all these things are going to be, yeah, all these things are going to be supporting our lives by soil. So it's a medium for plant growth. So when we talk about soil, first thing come into our mind is it is a medium for plant growth. It's a complex natural material derived from disintegration of and decomposition of rocks, right? So it is really important that we understand it is a rock as it is. We cannot consider it as soil because it need to be disintegrated or compost. Be considered as a right, or it be considered as a soil, right? So it need to be disintegrated, right, and decomposed. So disintegrated and composed rocks are called soil. Organic matter added later on to the process, and all these solid material provide nutrients, moisture, and anchorage to the plant. So these are the basic role that is played by soil. So it's well understood that we all need to know the service by soil. It's really important for us. Okay, if you know that is important, then we have to know the properties of the soil. So because it is going to be changed from one place to another, if it is same, we don't have to time on learning those properties, because if you learn one, so that is valid for whole land. But when it comes to like, when we are dealing with very high variability, that means from one place to another, so there is a big difference in property. So it's a great indigenous materials. So therefore, we have to learn about soil. So how do we study or learn about soil? So we consider those who are expert in plants, plant nutrition, and those aspects. They will learn about nutrients plant provide, and they are transformed, and those things. Medium of production, because soil is a medium of crop production. It's a producer or absorber of gases, right? So there are some gases generated from the material, and also there are some gases we kind of exchange material for gases. And the anchorage support for the plants, and home for organisms, plants and animals and others. And it is an essential natural resource, as we mentioned. It filters, store for the water and waste material. We can think of, depending on the interest field, so we can select which one to study, right? Whether we're going to study about nutrients provided, whether we're going to study about waste decomposition, whether we going to discuss about soil, soil genesis, and there are properties of soil. So we have to observe geologic, climatic, biological, and human activities, these soil resource. Okay, so so from this image you can see how complicated the system is, right? So interaction between plants, human, and soil, right? This show you can see the plant is producing fruits, right? So these things are going to be food for animal and living beings, right? So other living beings, including humans. So when we consume fruit, so we get all these nutrients that are present in these fruits. And then what happens is, like plant, when the plant is in demand of nutrients, so it will take up nutrients from soil, right? Take up nutrients from soil. So all these elements, as you can see here inside, all these elements are a nutrient that are required for plant growth. So these nutrients are taken up, and then gradually plant will grow up and produce. So these grown up plants will produce fruits or nuts. So that is going to be a for humans, and right. So those are very important things that we have to link these aspects, right? Or in a food web, you will see that all these things are highly linked. So if we think about managing this, so managing in the sense, these are naturally occurring materials, but what we need to do is we have to customize, we have to change the way that these nutrients are provided, right? So therefore, we need to monitor, or if there is any lacking material, so we have to add them. So you know that fertilization is for that nutrients that are needed for these activities, right? So that is about communication of plants, human and animal when they are interacting together, right? So there is a problem comes which soil plant, as we already aware, a certain area that are not suitable for particular crops. So therefore, we have to select. At the very beginning, we have to select field these good for these crops. Okay, which soil is best for plant growth? So here plant growth means, so we need to specify which type of plant, because the requirement will be changed from will be changed over a period of time, right? So okay, yeah. So this is the different stages of plant growth. You can see it starts from either seed or branch. If we're going to have a vegetative propagation, we will take a part of a mature plant, and so that is also going to be possible, and also common for other services provided by soil. It doesn't really matter whether it is coming from a seed or a part of mother plant. So it will start gradually growing. You can see that it's only root here. And then after that, so there are some leaves coming in, and the root will get more branches. It will spread out like this, right? So this spreading out will help to absorb more water and nutrients, and then it will gradually have taking up the space, right? You can see it's growing above ground. At the same time, it's spreading out its roots. And yes, so in this one also, it will start producing flowers. To produce next generation, they need to develop flowers, and then find fruits and nuts. And then this one, so when the flower opens, so there will be pollination happens, and then there will be seeds formed, right? So this is, so I want you to think about this, how when the plant grow up, so how fast the root system develops, right? So because it need lot of nutrients. So when the plant need lot of nutrients, we have to provide these nutrients to the root system. That's why we see the root system is also spreading out. Okay, soil profile. So there was a concern or question is there as well regarding soil profile. So here it is, the profile showing us the vertical section of the soil, right? So you can see that the color, right? So the material present in this is also different, and we will see that if there is a barrier in this profile, so that will affect the growth of plant. As you can see here in this one, there is a very hard rock in this area, and A very hard one is around here, and this one, yes, this one also has a bunch of rocks packed together, which will affect the growth of root stem. So if we don't have this kind of constraint or limitation, so actually that will be helpful for us to identify which kind of limitation it is, and then decide which crop is suitable for cultivation of particular plants, right? So that is about the profile. So I'll explain it further when there is, yes, this is soil profile. I'll explain it. So can we have a small break of about 15 minutes? Or are you happy to continue?
Recording stopped.
So can we have a 15 minutes break? And then we will join. Okay. So in the meantime, if you have questions in the chat, the question is in the chat. So take it up after break. So now it's 10:53. So we will start in about 11. Yeah, 11:15 maybe. Yes, 15 minutes break. 11:10. 11:10. So we will start 11:10 break. And second, screen. Yes, we have about soil profile, as you can hear. There are different colors in soil, right? So you can see the top part is dark in color, and the bottom part is a different color, especially light colored section in the bottom, right? In when you come to the laboratory university, you will see this standard determining color, because by looking at this, each one of us recognize the colors in different manner, right? So in top, we may say some might say it's dark brown, some say it's black. Or, the colors are different, described by different people. So they are their standard of defining color, right? So that will be explained during your practice, and also they will tell you what is the meaning of each color, right? What the color mean to us. So that will be explained during your practice, right? Look at the soil. Soil has different layers. So it has general. So the top layer is generally darker in color than the other layers. Any reason? I guess that why this is dark in color, the topmost layer we call A horizon. So let's call horizon. Here. These different layers are called, all these are horizons. Horizons. The A horizon This is B and this is C. A horizon is darker in color, right? So why it is darker in color? It is very high amount of right? So the organic matter coming from these organic matter coming from the residues. When the plant grows, there are dead plant parts on the surface. It's an with the top layer of soil, and this is the layer and lighter color, right? So this entirely depending on the material. Parent material is having iron, so this will be looking as red color. It can be yellow or it can be gray. These are the most common colors. Red because when the iron, especially ferrosulfuric ions, present in soil, provide in color. But even this contain high amount of iron, still if there is no oxygen, right? O2 is low, we can see if the oxygen and oxygen is high, oxidized and the different colors. A color generally happens when there is very low amount of oxygen or lack of oxygen. Lack of oxygen, right? So this this will be this part is decomparative develop into this is we call DPM. DPM decomposing parent material, right? Decomposing parent material. So one is rock, right? This is rock. Rock composing parent material. This is lighter in color. So this is generally the decomposed material of the rock, right? This is top layer contain higher organic matter. This is we recognize different layers, right? Okay, so I got saying that my voice is not clear. Right? So therefore, will be able to collect that part using the record. Right? So looking at the organic matter, the high amount of organic matter gives the darker color, right? So these are differences. These are the differences in soil color. So you're going to learn this in your practical. So you will have different color soils, yellow and gray color, and those type of soil they can have a look and see if they are different in colors. So as I explained before. So let me check the problem with the internet. Okay. Is the voice here? Let me check the connection issue.
Recording stopped.
This image show you different soil profiles. You can see they are their colors, right? So red, brown, yellow, gray. So you will see all these kind of
Recording in progress.
during your practical. You will see these different colored soils, and you will also be given a standard method of determining. So there is a tool, a small color charts. They match the color. That name of the color is world standard. Right? So therefore, it is not going to be subjected to person who is determining the color. Right? So likewise, we have method of determining color. And next we want to observe the soil. If the soil is so important, we want to observe it depending on observe it to identify what are the different properties, right? So what we want to do for that is outside and select a location where you can right? Mostly it is done by digging a soil pit, right? But if you have that money, you can still go and observe the soil in road cuttings. So there are places where the soil inside of the soil is exposed. So you can have at different layers and their role, and can see by these different colors in soil color. Sometimes of water stagnate for a period of time, and sometimes there will be a drainage problem. So those can be seen when you sit in the field. So once you visit the field, you will realize that the best location or place to the sampling. And select the location. You can then you can collect the samples, right? Once you see location, so we will get a auger. Auger is equipped that is to collect samples. When you come to the university, you will be given a chance to have different soil sampling methods, soil samples, and depending on the method that you're using, you have to collect samples. And so soil sample can be obtained from simple when you go to a deeper layers, you have to use the soil organ. Okay, so what it is made up of? The soil is made up of, I told you that, right? So in the ideal soil for agriculture, you need to have at least 25% of the volume filled with water. 20% of the volume filled with water. So therefore, it is essential for filling this bag, right? In this, you can see that 25% of the volume is occupied by water, and rest of the 25%, in that half, is occupied air. So this 20% air and water balance is very good for growth of plants. And water content is near the mineral rest of the pot will be occupied by the mineral. Mineral matter is a material that is used for the solid particles that is used to provide nutrients, and the plant. So these are the different components in soil, right? Therefore, these balance of these proportions is really important for proper growth of plant. So the soil consists of 45% mineral, 5% organic, 25% air, and 25% volume. Water. This is volume basis, right? Not weight basis, volume basis. This is the same thing. The functions of the soil. So what are the functions? Right? We have discussed that the recycling of nutrients and organic waste. As you already know, we have discussed the organic waste that we have generated. We are generating need to be decomposed. So this decomposition is done to material or dumping into a site that is neglected, and then gradually natural system allow natural system to decompose it. In this natural system, actually the soil is part that is playing a leading role. The microorganisms in the soil will help for decomposing these material. And habitat for organisms. It gives a space and a place for macro and micro organisms to is a function. And engineering medium means if you are having construction, building, or any other like house building and swimmers, varying after land is maybe. So the property soil will going to affect the stability of the structures built and those things, even though it is not related to agriculture, but it is a great service provided by soil. And the medium for plant growth, which we have discussed, and the system for supply of, right? So I have told you that when the water is received, the earth from rainfall, the ground from rainfall, so that water will fall into the right. So, that water especially get in surface water bodies. But can you imagine the role played by soil in purification of water? Because in the surface water, we do not use to drink water from the surface water bodies unless it is purified. But when it comes to groundwater, so we use to take water from wells and drink them straight away without even boiling sometimes, right? So how that happens, right? So you need to think who is doing the filtering process. Filtering process is done by soil. You may have not think, but the process is really important. Soil retains some of the toxic compounds and some of the particles. So soil filters them and then added to the groundwater, right? So system for water purification. So those are major functions of soil. And the topsoil, as I have mentioned before, the roots and microorganisms, macroorganisms, insects, earthworms, all of them are living in the topsoil. Why they are living in topsoil? Do you think that when I say that? So why do they go into deeper layers? Any reason that you can think of? Why do they in the surface layer, living organisms? Why do they living in the surface layer? Topsoil? Any reason? Okay. Yeah. So it's better if you interact. You give the answers, so it will be kind of like live discussion. So the topsoil mostly, and the reason for living beings to concentrate mostly on topsoil because they need oxygen, right? Oxygen is essential for them to live. So oxygen is mostly provided by the atmosphere. So topsoil has the connection to atmosphere, right? So then subsoil, right? Some of the roots, bacteria, fungi is also there. In some when deeper layers, we don't have much living in there, right? It's about bedrock and parent material, lime, sometimes limestone. So those material are the ones that are in the deeper layers, right? Yes, there is a question in the chat.
Recording stopped.
So there is a chat asking what time class finishes. So I hope to continue without giving you the lunch break so that we can finish it off in about another 1 hour or so, right? So we will go up to about like 1 o'clock, 1, 2, so close to time, depending on the time taken for like questions or anything, so the time may change. Otherwise,
Recording in progress.
yes. So this is the descriptive diagram about how soil profiles is arranged in different layers or horizons. You can see the top layer is very top thin layer is called O, which is organic horizon, and then after that A is E is the layer in between A and B. right? Because sometimes the particles that are leached or washed from the top layer will be deposited somewhere around in between and so A B horizon, B horizon, B is the subsoil layer or subsurface horizon, and C is the decomposing parent material, and R is the rock, right? So it is really important that understand the different layers, how they are formed, right? So there are some soils you don't see this differentiation. All throughout the profile, it's uniform color because they are not soil that place. They have been brought somewhere else. So especially soil are washed away with running water, so you will not see the separation of the horizon, right? The separation of horizons are mainly in the soils that are developed in the itself. Okay, so the factors that are related to formation of soil, right? So especially the climate. So, thundering, lightning, rain, heat, sunlight, everything is affecting developing soil from rocks. Soils are in the part of an environment, part of this environment. So this climate is going to affect the formation of soil, and also ultimately soils are influenced by their environment, right? So environment is going to have an impact. So really, is the slope. You can see that is the slope, right? Slope. And then parent material. Soil is made up of, right? So origin of the soil, rocks, and then parent material. Parent material is a partially decomposed rock, not fully developed into soil. In between soil and rock is parent material. And then organisms, eukarya, vegetation, and then fungi. Those things are going to affect the soil's composition or developing of soil. And some of the soil like which they are colored soil have a lot of plant nutrients, and red color subsoil is indication of oxidation and weathering. So there are some complex soil profiles where you cannot differentiate clearly the horizons. In that case, it will be difficult to understand what has happened, right? The soil profile, soil properties. Next topic is about soil properties. What are the properties of soil, right? So those who have done agriculture for their O levels or advanced level, I'm sure that they will have a good understanding about these properties. Maybe not all of them, but you may have learned some of these properties. And those who have not done agriculture at all, we're going to learn what the properties are. Generally, if you are following a degree in agriculture related fields, so you will have in-depth study about what are the physical, chemical, and biological properties of soil, right? The physical properties. are, as the term implies, physical properties are properties that we can see from our eyes, right? So that is, for example, physical properties. What sort of physical properties? Color is also considered as physical property. Texture is the size of the particles in the solid material in soil. Texture and structure. There is something called structure. All these things are physical properties. Soil moisture, amount of water that is stored in that, and chemical properties, right? Chemical properties are properties that that is happening mainly due to the chemical reactions, right? With different reaction with different combination of compounds that are present in soil, right? So especially if there are H plus ions, more H plus ions in the soil, so you get low pH. The indicator will be pH. The indicator will be showing up low pH value, but the reason may be a different thing that we have to carefully observe, right? There might be low level of pH due to that, so you will get acidic condition in soil, right? Acidity, right? Acidity is, yeah, some of you already know what is acidity. Low pH, high H concentration, right? Soil. So there are these five. Just see what the. Just let me take you back. Okay, so here I am going to tell you what the properties are. The physical properties. Write it down here. Okay. Physical properties are soil texture. Soil texture that indicate amount of sand, amount of silt, amount of clay, right? Sand, silt, and clay. And also structure, bulk density, structure, bulk density, and all these things are considered excellent. So yeah, there are some answers as well supporting the explanation. Yes, bulk density and also moisture or water, right? Those are physical properties. And chemical properties, what are the chemical properties? Chemical properties are pH, right? That gives you the acidity level, and also something called electrical conductivity. Sometimes we call it EC. And there is another thing called cation exchange capacity, CEC, right? So likewise, you have number of chemical properties, right? And biological properties. What are the biological properties? So presence of macro, micro, and mesoorganisms. And then this can be in terms of count, activity. That means how active the microorganisms or macroorganisms. So those things considered to be, and also the type and the composition. How much bacteria, how much fungi. Count. Those things are considered to be the physical, chemical, and biological properties, right? These properties are going to change behavior of the soil, right? So as we already know, right? As we already know, there are some organisms living in the soil. There are, why we learn biological properties? Yeah. The reason is there are some of the organisms who are really beneficial. They are very beneficial. They support decomposition. They support decomposition of organic matter, right? There are some organisms that are not really good for us. They are called pathogens, right? So those are also living in the soil. They bring us diseases, right? So most of them are beneficial, right? Most of them are beneficial organisms. So they will support us in decomposition of organic matter. But there are certain organisms that who are pathogens, right? So those are the physical, chemical, and biological properties of the soil, right? Okay, so this one actually show you how this inside the soil, how this root system and plant growth is happening, root system development and plant growth happens. So you can see that based on the size of the plant, right? Based on the size of the plant, the spreading of roots will be differ. So therefore, when we supply nutrients, we have to have understanding about how well the root system has been developed for the support of that plant, right? So larger plant will have deeper roots and absorption, and also so you can have like if we don't have originally there to support that plant, so we can have an artificial way of doing it, of providing the required facilities, so required properties that are needed for the growth of plants. So for anything that we need to know certain properties, measuring those properties are done by doing sampling and giving them to laboratories. That's why as the first practical, I wanted to highlight you about how to use these equipments and tools. So for that, we will see what we can do. If you know the mechanism, right? If you know the mechanism of what is being happening in the soil, so that we can easily manage the soil to get the, as I previously mentioned, to get the maximum service from the system. So here you can see the root that is image, that is drawing that shows you what is the role of root and the root hair for absorption, right? So you can see that there are tiny root hairs. So those ones, those tiny hairs must, these small root hairs must be
Madam, we call
supporting
it multiplication.
absorption of, yes, that's right. Yeah, that's the word that we use. මූලකේශ කියලාත් අපි කියනවා මේවට. මේ උඩා roots තමයි. So the ones that are very small are having higher surface area, right? Very high surface area. So therefore absorption capacity is very high. But remember, if we don't have space, good space to develop these ones, that is where the soil come into the picture, right? I'm going to give you the background why these things are important, right? When it comes to the structure of the soil, right? Structure of the soil. This root has to go into the soil, right? මේක යන්නේ soil එක අස්සෙන්. ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේ පේනවා ඇති මේ soil එකේ අනිත් ඒවාත් තියෙනවා. Particle soil particles තියෙනවා, rocks, ඊට පස්සේ sand particles, silt particles, various particles are also there. So root will be going through them, right? So therefore therefore what is in the soil is going to be really important. So if there is no enough space for roots to grow like that, so what would happen? So then there will be restriction of restriction of root growth, right? We use another color for roots here. So if we have roots like that, right, there should be a space. There should be enough space for roots to grow. If the roots, these small root hairs are growing, then there will be more space to absorb. So that's why the particle size, this is the size of the particles, right? Size of particles. These things going to matter, right? If the size of the particle matters, common name that we use for the size of the particles is soil texture, right? Sand being the largest, right? Sand particle is the largest. It's very difficult to write in here. Sand, silt, clay. So sand being the largest particle, silt medium, and clay is the tiny particles. So then depending on which size of particles available, so these root hairs and their functions will be different, because there should be enough space, there should be enough aeration and everything, right? So therefore structure of the soil is going to be really important. Okay. Soils are very dynamic, right? Soils are very dynamic and they change over a period of time, right? So when it comes to the early stages of soil development, so as you can see here in this one, so there's no much variation, right? So it's going to be in the uniform manner, and later on when there is a horizon developed, there's a horizon developed because of adding organic matter from the top, and then you will see a sudden change, right? It's not sudden, but you will see a change. So then what happens? Over a period of time, right? Over a period of time, it will develop into another layer. So which is washed away material from topsoil and addition of some the bottom soil layer. So there will be a layer of another. There will be a layer of another particles will be appearing over a period of time. So that's what we call sometimes the accumulated clay is called BT. That is the term that is used internationally. But you can see this is as the E horizon that develops between A and subsoil, between topsoil and subsoil, A and B, right? So so that is the initial development of B horizon, right? BT, and then gradually it independent from the top layer, and then it will develop into a single layer on its own, right? And then gradually you will see that E horizon is further developed because of washing of particles and adding from here, and gradually the horizon B is becoming independent, right? So from these two, right? So this will take very long time, right? So that's the development, different development stages. But in the soils, we can see all these stages, right? You don't have to wait because we have the soils, different soils in Sri Lanka, and we can see all these things in a practical manner. Okay, so when the soil develops, gradually the vegetation will also develop, right? Because in this one you can see that the plants are not growing. Plants are not growing here, and then when the topsoil layer is developed, then the plants will start growing in, right? And then when it move into this one, right? This has a deeper soil layer, and also there is addition of organic layer. So all these things, and also there is enough space for roots to develop. So that is the mature soil. So what makes the soil a soil? The texture, size of the particles are very important. As we discussed, right? So they are going to be really helpful for holding up the plant, trapping air and water, and also it provides certain particles that are especially the toxic compounds, and those things are held by soils if there is high amount of clay, right? Although the soil could be all sand, silt, and clay, right? So instead, the most of the soils are in combination of these three. So when we learn about sand, silt, and clay. But in the real world, when you go to the soil, so you will see that it contains mixture of these three types of particles. The relative percentage of sand, silt, and clay is given as a textural triangle, right? Textural triangle. So I will just give you an image of textural triangle. Give me a couple of seconds.
Recording stopped.
Okay, yeah. So in this one, actually, if we know about
Recording in progress.
if you know about the sand, silt, and clay particles of your sample, so then you can determine the textural class. So, for example, if we have 40%, yeah. So just let. If you have 40% silt and 40% silt and let's say 35 here, 40% silt and 35% clay, then you will end up in clay loam, right? So this is the name. So you go along the lines. So then you will recognize what are the textural class. So that is called textural triangle. Textural triangle. So that is to identify which type of texture that soil has, right? So this is sand, silt, and clay. So this is not a nice image. So I just want to show you. Sand will be, silt will not look like this color, but the particles are sticky and silty, right? So how to recognize? Okay, this is about recognizing texture in the field itself, right? Or at the laboratory even in a quick results, right? So if you take a handful of soil, right, and add water, especially first you have to sieve it in the 2 millimeter sieve, because anything that is not within 2 millimeter or less than 2 millimeter, then we will not consider anything that is not within the size of the sand, silt, and clay or less than 2 millimeter, then higher than 2 millimeter, we will not consider them as soil. So sorry about that. If you confused, let me, anything beyond 2 millimeters, right? Anything beyond 2 millimeters. So 2 millimeters, anything larger than 2 millimeters. So are called not soil, right? They are not soil. There can be gravel, rocks, and those things. Anything less than 2 millimeter has to be considered separated into sand, silt, and clay, right? So then how much of this, each of this has percentages in terms of weight? So then what we do is we do a test. There is a very accurate test done in the laboratory, but in the field, so you have limited time, and also your knowledge can be applicable without coming into the laboratory, right? So lab එකට යන්න නැතුව කොහොමද මේක determine කරන්න කියන එක තමයි අපි practical එකේදී ඉගෙන ගන්න. Right? So in this one, what we do is you take a handful of soil and then add a little bit of water, right? Then when you press, try to make a bolus or a ball. So when you try to make a ball, so if it will be like this, right? If you have this kind of ball, then if it is not sand, because sand you cannot make this kind of a ball. It will fall down, right? So therefore, the next step, then you have to try next step. Try to form a ribbon, right? So you put the soil and then try to form a ribbon like this. So if this ribbon is going to be long, right? Ribbon should only be about 2 to 3 millimeter thick, and the more you have soil, right? So if you have the ribbon, just give me a minute to turn off the mics and videos. So this ribbon, if this ribbon is long, so you can have a ribbon, then there is a higher chance of having more clay in the soil. So how, yes, so you can hand texturing method, you can prepare a mold based on the length of that mold. The length of that mold, we can go for classification, right? Scale in millimeters. If it is more than 75%, so when you mold like this, sorry, less around here, it's about 60 here, and then yeah, around 70 maybe millimeters in the scale. So then it will most likely be clay, right? Clay loam is the medium, and the loam has to be 25. Yeah, around 25, then it will be loam. And sandy loam and loamy sand. If the word sand come to the end, that means it contains high amount of sand, right? So likewise, you can classify them this will be doing in your practicals, right? You will do the practicals during, I think the tentative dates set was 20th. You will be informed. So we have three laboratory practicals set for you. One is color of the soil, and the other one is the soil sampling equipments, tools, and the third one is the soil color, texture, and yes, texture by feel, by hand method. So those three will be described in the practicals, right? So this is the same thing that the texture of triangle I told you. So we can place the soil into this one. Okay. So when we talk about, right, so this is the same thing, that organisms that are present in the soil. Yeah. And there is a question in the chat. Yeah, form a ring, that can also work. If we try to form a ring using soil, so there will be a possibility that you can identify whether it is a silt, sand, or clay, right? Growth factors. Yeah, so what kind of growth factors are essential for plants to grow? Why we talk about it? Because once we know these things, then we can manage our soil very well, right? So the plant growth factors you already know: light, water, nutrients, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and temperature, right? The light is not a big issue. So we have, like, in our country, we have sunlight during the daytime, and water. Water is taken up by the soil, and so water need to be supplied to the soil medium. And nutrients, all other nutrients as we discussed, so nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, sulfur will be available, so will be affecting the growth of plants, because they are the ones that are provide essential nutrients for the essential nutrients for the plants. And oxygen, yes, oxygen is also a very important compound for respiration, right? So root respiration happens, and root respiration, so we need oxygen and also release CO2, right? Especially in the root environment. But in plant, we know that plant will take up carbon dioxide and release oxygen. So therefore, gas exchange happens in that, right? And carbon dioxide and temperature. So there will be properties, especially carbon dioxide, so get accumulated in the soil if the soil is compacted, right? And the temperature, generally the temperature of the soil will be higher than the temperature of atmosphere, right? So therefore, those things need to be understood, because they are affecting the growth of plants. So nutrient cycles, so you can see yes, photosynthesis, yes. You can see this is a typical nutrient cycle. I'm not going to give a separate one for each element. So you can, this is an example. So how soil function as a medium for providing nutrients. You can see the plants are growing, and there will be taken the nutrients from the medium, and then with the fruits that will go away, right? So with the fruits producing in these trees, that will go to another place, So therefore, it is being removed from the soil, right? And yeah, so that, and then only thing is, if the nitrogen and phosphorus, potassium, those elements are gone, definitely we have to place them back in the soil, right? So how we do that? Especially in biological, so how we provide these nutrients is through mainly fertilizer. So we add fertilizer or any other organic manure, inorganic fertilizer, or poultry manure, farmyard manure. There are various different types, right? So we supply them. In addition, there is a specific method that we get nitrogen, especially nitrogen, for free. That's from the biological fixation of nitrogen. You might have seen that microbial nodulation. So this process can only be performed by the legume. So legume fixation of nitrogen, and if there are water bodies, there will be possibility. So if there are a lot of, demand from the plant, so then most likely there will be a process that plant has the ability to take up nitrogen from the atmosphere if the plant roots are inoculated with specific organism. The specific organism is rhizobium there, right? Rhizobium are the organisms that are responsible for these fixation of nitrogen. That is free of charge, and all other things are supplied through the fertilizer. And some of them might be withering of some of the nutrients coming from withering of parent material, but that is not sufficient at this stage. So since the the decomposition rate of rocks are very slow, the providing of nutrients is not possible to the demand. So you can see that these plant nutrients, how they are cycled, right? Releasing, immobilization is the reverse back to the system. Okay, and also you should not forget that there are some losses. Surface loss. What is the surface? So especially losses are due to various carriers like water, wind. So particles are taken away and the nutrients are also taken away. These are the losses, method of losses: erosion, leaching, surface runoff. So those things will affect the nutrient cycle, right? Okay. Field indicators of physical problems, especially in the soil management. Let's suppose we do a lot of fertilizer and take care of plants. Still, there are complaints that even though we did the best, sometimes there will be no good results of plant growth or yield. So then you should be able to, since you are going to be a diploma holder in agriculture, so you should be able to give the answer for not having, for example, not having sufficient growth in the plant, right? So what we want to check in that kind of situation. So plants are well taken care of, but yield is not there. So in that case, so we have to carefully look at that. So And there are some other, like, erosion evidence. Sometimes the depth of the soil is not sufficient, right? So if the depth is not sufficient, so what happens is like the plant roots are going to be condensed into a very thin place, right? Very small place. So that will actually ended up in having very low level of yield and response. Something like this, right? So let's suppose this is the base of the plant. And if this is the base of the plant, so you will see okay. So what happens is like, so when you have a restriction somewhere around here, let's say, if there is a rock and this is not less than this distance is, let's say, 2
Soil rehabilitation.
yes, rehabilitation is possible. So let's suppose you have 2 feet depth, right? So what happens is like roots go here, right? But root can penetrate more, but it is restricted because of the rock here. So then it is a physical problem. It is not a chemical problem. This is a physical issue, physical barrier, right? And there, if the other reason is, other problem that we can have is, other issue, maybe you get a water table, right? Water table, groundwater table fluctuating here and there, right? So in the wet season, it will come to here, and in the dry season, it will be somewhere here, right? So then plant roots will not be able to grow, right? So that is a situation where you have a physical barrier or physical problem, right? Water and
Prevent the soil erosion over crop cultivation.
yes. So then, okay, excellent. So what we need to do is we have to think of a situation where how to improve this, right? Improve, because we know that if there is more soil erosion, the layer will be soil layer to root growth will be even limited. Still, there will be lack of space. So therefore, we need to do stop soil erosion, because eroded soil has very low amount of organic matter, and also the depth is limited. So therefore, rehabilitation of soil, prevention of erosion, and improving soil's conditions. If there are high amount of clay, you need to add some sandy material. So those things are essential when we consider about the physical limitations, right? So that's why I want to highlight. And also surface crust. Sometimes there are soils which are pretty much like concrete, right? So that is because of the high formation of high crust, because of high soil clay content, right? So therefore, we that's why in a paddy field, even though you pond water in the paddocks or the growing areas, so you see that water does not go down. But if we add if we bind that water, if we have ponded that water into a sandy soil, so it will disappear in a couple of seconds, right? So that's why the size of the particles are so important.
Compaction.
Yes, compaction is another issue where there is especially the root penetration is restricted, and also soil's air or oxygen amount is limited because of the compaction, right? And yeah, so that one is managing soil for agriculture. So especially we have to manage the properties, physical properties, as mentioned. We have to stop erosion, we have to rehabilitate our soil, and supporting the plant growth by physical means. And then chemical properties, if there is acidity, salinity, organic, low organic matter content, that need to be addressed, right? And enhancing water retention. So water retention has to be enhanced by either mulching or cover crop, enhancing water retention. And the common problem is low soil fertility. That is common everywhere, right? So low soil fertility, we have to maintain the fertility by adding organic matter, various other compounds, and those things.
Deficient.
So another problem is, yeah. What is it? Okay. So this is how acidity affects the nutrient availability. You can see this is pH level. So this one actually show you each element in which pH range they available and not available, right? So if you look at okay, if you look at 6.5, somewhere around here, so just let me do the line.
5.5 to 6.5.
Yeah, so around 5.5 maybe. Yeah, so this is not, these two are not very available in 5.5. Let's say from 6 to around 7, right? This range from 6 to 7. So along this line, you can see most of the nutrients are available. That means it is slightly acidic, right? So most of the nutrients available. So you see availability by the width of this column, right? So all of them have widest width in 6.5. But let's take a pH 5. See, these things are available only very little amounts, right? So therefore, the best pH would be 6.5 to 7, right? All right. So that's the issue of soil's pH. Low pH and high pH both going to be problematic. So we want to have neutral range. And also the other thing in managing is we have to avoid losses, right? We need to minimize the losses. When the crop demand of nutrient is very high, we have to apply them in the peak demand, right? And the amount of the correct of fertilizer, right? And fertilizer has to be added in the correct amount or type. Otherwise, it is going to be wasted. And amounts to supply. So that is based on the recommendations and our recommendations, and also especially there are some crops that do not have proper recommendations. So then we have to follow trial and error methods, especially the exotic varieties. Sometimes we don't have a recommendation. So generally it's in high nutrient demand. So in that case, so we have to supply them separately. So yeah, so this is an image showing you how nutrient cycle works, right? So previously I have explained. So from mineral matter, so there will be some solution, especially soil solution is going to be rich with nutrients when there are mineral fertilizers are added, because nutrients are highly available. And then plant take up, so plant will take up these nutrients and then grow, and then once we take the harvest out, there will be residues. අපි මේ plant එකේ ඔක්කොම ගන්නෑනේ crop residues ඉතුරු වෙනවා. ඒක ආපහු soil එකට එනවා. These plant residues will back into the soil, right? So that plant residue will decompose and release those nutrients, right? And that is going to be helpful for absorption of nutrients again. So this cycle is mostly common for almost all the nutrients. So it will be actually the typical role played by the soil for providing nutrients, and also having combination of plant nutrients, plant fertilizer, and soil is going to give the service of providing water and nutrients. So we want to know those properties. That's why we do soil testing, right? Determine the average nutrient status in the field, and to obtain a measurement of nutrients, especially the obtain the measurement of nutrients variability in the field, because then only we can address the changes, right? So correct fertilizer and nutrient supply will result in increasing yield, reducing cost, and the potential of minimizing pollution. And finally, we can increase the crop yield by proper managing soils, right? So that's about it, and it's time for questions.
Madam, what is the leaching?
Recording stopped.
Okay, so that's a good question. Okay, so just let me start the recording.
Recording in progress.
Leaching, okay, let me explain it. Okay, leaching, shall we take a slide? That's a good question. Okay, I will add the slide to explain leaching. Okay, so I have added a slide so that can understand what the leaching is? Okay. Let's. So if this is the surface of the soil, right? So leaching is so when it rains or we do irrigation, so we will get water, right? So we get water. So when this water droplets come into the soil, part of this is going inside. You know, obviously, some of these water move inside the soil, and some of them will go away through. This is runoff, right? This water, when this is coming inside the soil, we call this at this surface. When the water moves inside, we call infiltration. This water will go further down, right? Part of this will be stored in the soil, right? This is soil. Part of this will stored in the soil, right? But some of this water will move further down, right? If it is sufficient water, further down, right? Further down, not all of them, some, right? This soil contain various nutrients, nitrate, phosphate, right? Potassium, calcium. These are called nutrients. These are nutrients. These ions are called nutrients. So when the water moves through the soil, what happens is some of these ions will also go with the water that is being moving through the soil, right? Potassium, especially nitrate in NO3. So this will go with water. So if this is moving beyond the level where plant cannot absorb, let's suppose this is the root zone. Root zone. That means if the plant grow like this, right? If the plant will be growing like this, and then there will be roots, right? Roots go up to this level, and there will be no roots here, right? Deeper layers. So if it is moving beyond the root zone of the plant, so that will call leaching, right? Leaching is moving nutrients, right? Carrying the nutrients with water flowing through the soil, right? These nutrients will be carried out. So once it is gone because we can't get this back unless you have irrigation. So if you irrigate this water back, right? If you irrigate this water, so this is added to the groundwater, right? This is added to the groundwater somewhere here. Say groundwater. Groundwater. If you take this groundwater and pump and supply it as irrigation, then you get some of these nutrients. But if not, this is going to be, these ions are going to be wasted because they are not, right? They are not coming back to the system. This is called leaching, L-E-A-C-H-I-A, right? I hope the answer is clear enough.
Okay, ma'am.
Any other questions? Any other questions?
Recording stopped.
Time to time, I stop this recording because the file is going to be so large when it is a long time. So then it will be difficult to upload to LMS if the file is so big, right? So I try to minimize the time. So unless it is really important thing to be recorded. Are there any more questions? So on Wednesday, this Wednesday, what's the date? Today is 13th, 15, 16, 17th, right? 17th, 13th, 14th, 15th is Monday, right? 15th Monday, 16th Tuesday, 17th Wednesday, right? 17th, you will have the quiz for this part of the course, and it will be on LMS. I will upload these slides and the recording so that if there was any interruption for for the voice, so you can see the recording, and slides will also be uploaded. So prepare for the test and do the quiz. So that is going to be your evaluation, and there will be practical session next weekend. '20th Saturday, I think if it has not already been informed, your academic coordinator will inform you about the practical sessions. Any other questions, please? Is there anything in the chat?
Madam, leaching is appropriate to deep percolation?
It is not similar. Yeah, that is also a good question. So yeah, it is not similar. Percolation, deep percolation is generally refers to the water. So if that water carries nutrients, we call it leaching, right? If it does not carry nutrients, just water, we call it percolation. If the term leaching is used, that has to be, there should be dissolved nutrient in that water moving down, right? That is the difference. And practice, what is that question? Practice where will be occur? Okay, I hope that question means where the practicals are held. Is that? I think, yeah. So the practical will be held in Faculty of Agriculture and Plantation Management, Wayamba University of Sri Lanka, Makandra. That is where you have practicals. So you will be informed that you have to come in 2 days, 1 day for lab and the field practicals, and then second day, I think you have a field visit. So ask about it from your academic coordinator, and hopefully she will inform you. Yes, the practical will start around 8:30, I think. Yeah. It starts around 8:30 and it will finish late. So I think they're trying to give you accommodation. I don't know. I'm not sure about it. So yeah, they will soon communicate to you, because we were informed to arrange the practicals on the 20th. Cation and anion, is that a question? Yeah, cation is the, I don't know whether it is a question or not. So, but yeah, cation is plus ions, Ca2 plus, this is a cation. Anion is negative ions. If you have NO3, minus here, so it is anion. This is cation. If it is positive ion, it is cation. So I hope that was a question. I am not sure about this. Is the practical held after all the subjects are over? Actually, you have to communicate that with the academic coordinator. So I am not sure about that. So 20th this month means maybe other subjects do not have practicals. I don't know. So you will be having practical for the course that has been already finished. And if there are like, field visits, you get familiar with the agricultural practices and those things. So that doesn't really matter. Theory is done afterwards. But subjects like the one that I do, soil and land management, you need to have some theory to do the practicals, right? That's why those courses were taught earlier. Practicals වලට ඉස්සරලා ඔයගොල්ලන්ට මේව උගන්වන්නේ මේ subjects වල practical කරන්න බෑ මේක ඉගෙන ගන්න නැතුව. So that's why we had the courses contain practicals were given earlier. So now we have finished this course. Then you will have the practical of this one in this weekend, in coming weekend. Wednesday, please, what's the preferred time? Is it 8:30 good in the night? 8:30 at night? 8:30 to 10:30? To do the quiz? Otherwise, if you want it earlier, so I can make it earlier, like 7:30 or so. If there are, people who are doing jobs, I don't know, so 7:30 might not be easy. Yeah.
Okay.
What is it? 7:30? 8:30?
8:30 maybe.
Okay, 8:30. Okay, 8:30. Yeah, so I'll set the time for 8:30 on Wednesday. Yes, we will have. Yeah, any other questions? If you don't have any other questions, so we can wind up the session. Okay, thank you very much for joining in, and wishing you all the best for the quiz. So it's going to be MCQs, multiple choice questions, and so the practicals. Yeah, we will have a practical session, and there might be questions in the practicals. So I'll not have practical questions in the quiz because we didn't do the practical yet. So yeah. So that's all about. And I hope you have understood certain concepts related to land and soil management. And please do understand, remember these things and put them in practice, and also get maximum use of the practicals and also the field visits so that you get exposure to the practical component of these courses, right? So with that, I think we can wind up the session if you don't have any more questions.
Madam, what is mean by leaching?
Oh my goodness, leaching. So I have already explained about 10-15 minutes, right? So where have you been? So leaching is when the water moves through the soil, right? When the water moves through the soil, if it carries nutrients, in the soil there are some nutrients. When water moves, or those nutrients are also taken out by the water, because nutrients can dissolve in water. So if the nutrients are going beyond the root zone, the area of the roots, right? So if the water moves beyond the root zone carrying nutrients, then it will call leaching, right?
Understood, madam. Thank you.
Yeah. So I have explained it using diagram and images and all those things. Yeah, try to do the quiz at 8:30, because later on, in case that you have connection issues or power issues, so you will lose your time, right? So therefore, early the better, right?
Madam, how many questions and what is the time duration?
Time duration is half an hour. So there will be, I think there will be 15 or 20 questions. So there, each one of you will get a separate question paper. So therefore, don't try to exchange answers and those things, because answers are also going to be different from each question. Even the question is same, answers might be different, right? So that means the options given is different. Let's suppose that you have what is the interesting question, what is leaching? So that question, so you may have different options, right? So then for the same question, there will be another set of answers. So therefore, don't try to exchange answers, because that's going to be different. And each one of you will get a different question paper. Okay, that's all about that. And if you don't have any other issues, so we'll wind up the session, and thanks for joining.